Today we're going to be talking about Bilbo and Frodo. If you're new here, welcome to Heart of a Halfling. We're going to talk about Lord of the Rings and do some Lord of the Ring things. So let's get started. So today I want to talk about Bilbo and Frodo, and I want to compare their stories, how they started, what their journey is, and how they ended, and then what's the takeaway from this, right? And starting off with Bilbo, while both characters are sort of thrusted into the journey, Bilbo for sure is. Gandalf approaches him while he's just minding his own business on his porch, having a smoke for the morning, no big deal. And Gandalf comes in and is like, I choose you to go on to this quest. And now he has to go through this whole endurance of the dwarves coming in and the mess and hearing of their tale and what their quest is. And the next morning, Bilbo sees that everybody's gone, and so he thinks he's in the clear. It was just a bad evening, but now he can move on with his day. Until once again, Gandalf shows up and says, nope, you're going on this journey. They're waiting on you. Go, 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 go. And Bilbo isn't given a chance to think about what to do next. He's just pushed out the door. He leaves without a handkerchief, which is a big issue to him. He leaves without a cloak, without clothes, food, nothing. He's just thrown out the door and he just goes on this adventure. In contrast, we have Frodo, who, while the ring is it's given to him, right? He doesn't really have much of a choice in this. It's given to him. Frodo is given a lot of time to think and ponder. He's given the ring at 33, and then he goes, years before he sees Gandalf again. And Gandalf kind of just stops by real quick and then leaves. And then he comes back years later to reveal, hey, this ring, I believe, is the one ring. And now Frodo is told what journey he has to go on now. That the ring has to be taken out of the Shire and has to be sent at least to Rivendell and let Elrond kind of decide on what to do from there. But even then, while the journey is the quest essentially is thrown at Frodo, he doesn't really get a choice in this. He has the ring, he has to do this. He's given a lot of time. He's given time to prepare and put his affairs in order, and he sells back in, and he moves to Crick Hollow, and he's given time. And then even when he gets to Crick Hollow, you have Merry and Pippin and Fatty Bulger all conspiring on how they can aid him in this quest. While the ring is thrusted on him and what he has to do is pushed on Frodo, he has agency and an actual choice in what he does from here to move on to the next step, versus Bilbo, who isn't really given a choice. He's literally thrown out the door, right? So you would think almost, to some extent, Bilbo has less knowledge of what he's about to actually go through, and so maybe he wouldn't be as great on this journey, right? Versus Frodo, who is very well aware of what's about to come and should be essentially more equipped. But in reality, neither of them are well equipped for their journeys because they're hobbits and they're innocent, and this is a totally new adventure for both of them. We see Frodo entering into the Old Forest, and that's kind of the bridge point of their innocent world and then what reality is. And for Bilbo, I guess you can kind of say it's the trolls. For him, his journey sort of starts off and he's like, whoa, adventuring isn't so bad. This is quite nice. We get to stop often and eat often. And then he actually gets out of the Shire and he's like, this is miserable. I want to go home. This is awful. And he has his encounter with the trolls. And this is his first, real point of danger, right? He doesn't do great with it. And the dwarves are there to try and help him, but they need saving, which happens a lot in the book. And Gandalf is there, and he's able to save the day, and everything's fine. And so we see in Bilbo's journey, he starts off really like bad at adventuring, not really knowing what to do. But slowly, as their journey goes on, he gains more and more confidence. You see a shift when he encounters Gollum, where this is his first time where he's in trouble and he is entirely on his own. There's no dwarves, there's no wizard, nobody knows where he's at. He doesn't know where he's at. He's in the dark. He's completely on his own. But he has his dagger, or his sword, right? He has Sting, which doesn't have the name yet. But he has this sword from Gondolin, and it fills him up with pride, and like he can do this. He can get through this because why couldn't he? He has this mighty weapon, right? And so we see this battle of wits between him and Gollum, and he's able to get out with his cunningness and agility, and really just being able to outsneak Gollum, and because he has the ring. And then we have some time goes by. We have the wolves and the eagles and Bjorn, but then we have the spiders, and that's really, really where Bilbo's character like really makes this huge shift, where he's no longer just a follower. He's no longer just a begrudging companion in this adventure. Like, he is taking an active role. He is fighting back with these spiders. He's taunting them in the same way that he's been taunted all this time. All these creatures have been like taunting with him with poems and songs, and now he has a chance to do that with the spiders, and he's fighting back. He's the one rescuing the dwarves. He's the one who's being the hero, right? And then we have the encounter in Mirkwood with the elves. And again, Bilbo's the one in charge. He's the one taking the lead on this. They don't really like his plan of escape, but it's the only one they've got. And so Bilbo really takes on this role of leadership with pride, with confidence. And it's not until they get to the actual dragons where they're like, oh yeah, we still have to fight a dragon. Nobody thought they'd actually get to that point. Now they're on the doorsteps, and they're kind of looking at Bilbo like, well, you're the leader, so what you gonna do about this one? You have to get rid of the dragon. And Bilbo obviously is like, this is dumb. I can't get rid of a dragon. But once again, he's forced through the door. And so he goes. And as he interacts with Smaug, again, you see this arrogance rise up in him, this confidence where he's just listing off his accolades, right? Just the wonders that he's done. He's just such a great hobbit. And now here he is thinking he's going to outwit this dragon. And it really ends up being kind of his downfall a little bit, because he reveals too much, which the dwarves are very forgiving in this. And like, how could you not reveal too much when you're in front of a dragon? They just have their ways. And here we have, Smaug go and do his big attack and all of this. And we have Bilbo, who's really leaning heavy on his tookish nature, right? And he's confident, he's a leader, he's a little bit on the arrogant side with the dragon. But he is in this adventure full-heartedly. And then he sees Thorin and the greed that is overcoming him. And now Bilbo is like, oh, this isn't okay. We need to do something about this. This is way too much gold and treasure for one person. Surely Thorin can share this with those around us who also need help. And so we see Bilbo, try to aid in some sort of treaty, but it fails. And then we have the Battle of Five Armies. And then we have, finally his interaction with Thorin, his final one, where he realizes, he sees the greed, he sees what money can do, and Thorin is now realizing as well in his last moments that it would have been better if he would have been generous with what he had. And so with Bilbo's whole character arc and his whole story, it's a story of courage, right? Of gaining this confidence and gaining this pride in his journey, and being more assured of himself, right? With Frodo, I would say that the journey is similar in that he gains confidence in himself, but it looks very different from Bilbo. With Frodo, nothing that happens with Frodo is in the moment, is impulsive, whereas Bilbo is a very impulsive story. It's an adventure story. It's a exciting kid's journey, right? But with Frodo, that's not the case. With Frodo, he knows what he's getting into from the very beginning. At the very start of it, he knows he has the worries of the Black Riders for sure. Bilbo knows he has the dragon, but it kind of gets forgotten about. They don't think about the dragon until the very end. Frodo doesn't have that luxury. Frodo has to think about at least the Black Riders all the way until he gets to Rivendell, until he gets to the Council of Elrond. And then even once he gets there, there's this long deliberation about what to do next. And he's informed that the ring has to be destroyed. There's only one way to destroy the ring, is through throwing it into Orodruin. And that's it. Like, who's going to take this ring now? And so Frodo is not only aware of what the end of this quest means in the same way that Bilbo is, he's faced with it on a more regular, continuous basis throughout his whole journey. Every step and movement he makes and decision he makes is with the knowledge that Black Riders are after him, that he has to go to Mordor, he has to go to Mount Doom, and he's probably not going to come back. In fact, at some point, Frodo is just assured, like just knows he's not coming back from this journey. This is it. He's going to get to Mount Doom, and that's it. He's never going to see the Shire again. Whereas Bilbo is more lighthearted in his journey in that, one, again, he doesn't really think about the dragon too much until he's actually at the doorstep. And even then, he's still holding out hope to go home. Like, he knows it might take a while, but he's going to get home. Frodo doesn't have that sort of mentality. And we see that because he doesn't have that mentality, his choices are based around that. The breaking of the fellowship, right? He leaves knowing he's going to his death, and he doesn't want to take anybody with him on that. But of course, good old Sam goes with him. So what does all that mean, right? Bilbo and Frodo end up having confidence and are decisive in their choices, but it looks very different. Bilbo is impulsive with it, Frodo is methodical about it. But how they end is vastly different in that Bilbo comes home joyful, jolly, a little richer, a little more adventurous. You know, he comes back and he's a different person, but while probably negative in the eyes of hobbits, he comes back in a positive way. He's outgoing, he's adventurous, he's not stuck in his old rut, his old routine. He's going out and doing things now. Frodo, though, is very different. He had the mindset that he was going to die in the end of this quest, and he kind of does. Like, yes, he comes home physically, but like, think about it. This whole time you're being told that you have to throw this precious item into the fire and destroy it. And as you get closer to doing that, you feel its tug on you more and more and more, but you're holding on to, no, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do the right thing. But right at the very end, you make the wrong choice. Like, Frodo's having to confront the fact that he was going to keep the ring. Granted, Gollum fought him, and because of that, the ring was destroyed. But Frodo has to know that when the time came, he was going to make the wrong choice, and that he did make the wrong choice. So, like, he's coming back different, and I would imagine, like, dead inside, knowing that you made, like, if things had played out differently, you would have ended the world, essentially. But he's also coming back a different person because of his wound, because of the trauma that he's had to endure through this whole journey, right? And he comes home completely different. He's not adventurous. He doesn't want to do anything anymore. You see him depressed. You see him just holed up in Bag End. He doesn't want to see any more death. When we see the scouring of the Shire, everybody's like, let's go and kill them. Let's fight for what's ours. And Frodo is just like, no, please, no more blood. Let's try and do this without killing anybody. Like, Frodo he's seen stuff, right? And while he wasn't fighting in the same manner that Merry and Pippin were fighting, he's been to hell and back, literally. And so you see him just being like, no, no more death, no more death. And when all of that is said and done and the Shire has been saved, once again, he's kind of getting his affairs in order because he's done. He's reached his limit. He doesn't want any more. He's going to take one more journey to go to sail off to the west. And that's it. And he's done. And even then, he knows in that journey, he's going to go and he's going to die. Frodo does not live forever. He goes to Valinor to die peacefully and most likely very quickly, because we're kind of informed with Beren and Luthien when they have the Silmaril that because they were in the presence of so much holiness, essentially, and they were men, that it killed them off quicker because they couldn't withstand being around that much holiness. So if we take that same concept, Frodo died very quickly. He probably went to Valinor, went to go see the Valar, and then went to go die peacefully and quickly. Like, Frodo and Bilbo's journeys are very different. They both are decisive. They're both confident. At the beginning, Bilbo really didn't want to go on this adventure. Frodo wanted an adventure. And then Bilbo at the end is like, yes, I want more adventure. And Frodo's like, please, I'm done. Don't give me any more. So what's the whole thing I get out of this? Bilbo is who we want to believe we would be in an adventure. We want to believe that we're the hero that goes on this grand adventure, that we become stronger, we're victorious in everything we do, and we come home happier and richer. But in reality, we would probably be more like Frodo, more aware of what we're walking into, more aware of the outcome. And really, at the end of it, can we really say we would make the right decision? Frodo didn't. We like to think that we would, but the reality is that all of us would have probably made the same decision as Frodo did, and would have come back not like Bilbo, all victorious and happy, but like Frodo. And so, I don't know, like, Bilbo's story is a children's adventure story. It's hopeful, it's exciting, it's what we want to believe we would be if we were the hero of the story. But then The Lord of the Rings with Frodo is more reality. It's more realistic of what would actually happen, what the everyday person would be. We want to think we'd be Sam in that situation, but how many of us can really say that if just poop hit the fan and we were forced to make a decision like that, would we make the right one? I don't know. I definitely hope I would. I hope when push comes to shove, I would throw the ring into the volcano, but I don't know. Frodo went through a lot, and Frodo, he had a lot of pressure on him, on such a little person who was innocent and just minding his own business, and without being asked, he was thrusted into a journey that wouldn't bring him riches and glory, but would literally be the death of him. I don't know. I don't know what you can do with that information, but I thought I'd share it. I think trying to compare Bilbo and Frodo is challenging, and to say, like, which one's my favorite? I don't know. Both. Because, like I said, Bilbo is the one I hope I'd be. Frodo's probably the one I'd actually be. And that's hard. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys differ in opinions, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you have a favorite, who is it? Why? I'd love to hear all of this. But ultimately, I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed week, and may your homes be filled with food and cheer. Bye.